Nowadays, it just feels like the bar for what it takes to succeed at anything has never been lower. Just wherever I look on the internet, it doesn't matter where, everybody's complaining about how hard everything is, how they're struggling to get this set up, how they're struggling to do that, how they're burning out, how they're trying to have work-life balance, and yet there's just so much opportunity, there's so many options. Things have never been easier throughout all of history. Yeah, there are things that are difficult still, but it's like the easier things get or the more opportunities that present themselves, the more everybody just keeps complaining. Like they expect it to just be as easy as possible no matter what. And frankly, I just don't get it. I just can't relate to it. I don't understand the mindset. I don't want to understand the mindset. People saying things like, this type of business is dead. Is this advertising dead? Is this way of marketing dead? You can't do that type of business. It's not scalable. It's so much whining. Before I really got into this stuff, it would be hard to understand why some companies are just so successful. How can a company be worth $1 trillion? How can a company be worth $1 billion? How can a unicorn startup happen where they start from zero in a garage and then they build up to $100 million a year or whatever, like a ridiculous number like that? And yet, when you look at the landscape, it kind of starts to make sense, because the majority of the people, they're just sitting around crying and whining all day about how hard it is. And yeah, sure, it's hard, but like, look at what you're trying to get. Like there was this clip from Silicon Valley where the guys they're trying really hard to get funding, and they kind of somewhat kidnapped this one guy to give him like a pitch for his startup. And they tell them how hard it's been and, their ideas and whatever. And the guy is just like, you guys are crazy, because they're kidnapping him, right? And then, they're just complaining about how difficult it is to get it going. And then he says, oh, I'm sorry. Is it hard trying to become a billionaire? And I just thought that was hilarious. It really gives you more context as to like what you're asking for, and then you expect it to be easy. Or like the other day, I saw another guy talking about his startup, and he's doing well, and I like the guy, but he was saying how it makes it really hard to want to keep doing his startup because he did this one consulting gig and then he made 3 times or like a year's worth of the money that the startup is making. And he hasn't stopped or anything, so I'm not bashing him for that, but it was just so interesting and I get it. I just feel like it's not a helpful frame of mind, because you're not doing this for what it's going to be today, next month, the month after that, 6 months later. If the scale was going to drop off after 5 years or 10 years, what's the point really? You're just doing something temporarily. Like if you wanted to even get into a hobby, you're probably not planning on only doing it for like 2 years. You're just doing it because you like it and you want to keep doing it as a consequence of liking it. And so you're not looking at it. You end up getting pretty good at things like that because you're not worried about like the time frame so much. Now, of course, you have to balance that out because you need to make money in the meantime, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with needing to make money. Obviously, I need to make money too, but you can't forget what it is that you're asking for, and you should really be encouraged by the fact that the competition is so, for lack of a better term, weak or soft, in that if you don't relate to it, if you don't get it, when they start saying things like that, if it doesn't resonate with you, then that's probably a pretty good sign. I've even started to mute some of those things that I'll see on like X or Twitter. I'm starting to think it's not even much point in even going on there, because like for me, I'm creating like software companies. And at first I thought I was trying to connect with more founders like in the same space. But besides the really successful ones, a lot of them are just complaining all the time. And I don't really want that to get in my head. This type of business is dead. That type of SaaS is dead. That type of product is dead. I don't even want to hear that because I just know it's not true. Like, I've been doing Facebook ads for so long, and it seems like every few days people are saying how Facebook ads are dead, Facebook ads don't work. But in reality, it just means that Facebook ads haven't worked for them. But I mean, yesterday I was watching a Sam Ovens video from 2 years ago. And I really like Sam Ovens. I think he's really smart, really good. And he was saying how Facebook ads aren't good. And he said it 2 years ago. Now the quality can definitely fluctuate, but in my experience, it still worked, right? He was saying that he switched to YouTube ads and that was much better for him. But, you know, that makes me curious. Like, I'll probably check it out, right? But just because somebody says something, and that's somebody that I really respect, like I'd love to, you know, pick his brain about a ton of things. But if you can't even take the people that you really respect, like 100% over your own experience, then why would you let all of these randoms online pollute your mind? It's better to just realize that, okay, they are competing at this level and they're struggling all the time because they just have this terrible mindset that everything is hard, everything is difficult. And again, it is hard, it is difficult. But it's not that hard when you remind yourself what you're asking for and what you're shooting for. You know, they keep just like loading themselves on with like this burden of, oh, this sucks, or this is hard, or this doesn't work, or that doesn't work. I can't make it. It's not helping it. Like, is telling yourself all those things about how difficult it is it going to make you feel any more motivated to stick it out? I mean, maybe if you're like a weirdo like me who would tell yourself, oh yeah, this is really difficult, I want to keep going, then maybe it works. But I don't like hearing it from all these other people about how hard it is for them and how things don't work. Like, for example, so many people, they're talking about like, what business should I start? What idea? Like the idea. I need to come up with a special idea, a really unique idea, something that nobody else has thought of. When in reality, every idea has already been thought of. And unless you're going to get into some of those weird combinations where you're just crossing over different industries and connecting them, then every business has pretty much already been made. So instead, why don't you just make something that already exists, but make it better, or make your version of it? Like, the majority of businesses are already not that good because they're made by just random people who probably just did that business because that was all that they could think of, or they had those particular tools. Like, they became a handyman because they had to fix some stuff at their house and they have the tools, and so their neighbor asked them to come over, and so they went and did it. Or maybe your dad owned a tire shop, and so then you grew up to manage his tire shop, and now you're in the tire business. Like, it's not because some venture capitalist decided to fund experts to make this tire shop, and that's how the tire shop came about. No, it's much simpler than that. And that means it's probably not that complicated for you to do that thing, but better. It doesn't even have to be that much better. Or it could just be higher quality service, a little bit faster, a little bit more convenient. There's all these different ways. Or you could just be in a better location. If, you know, like the tire shop example, you can just answer the phone a little bit more nicely than the other guy. And that's already an advantage that you have over them. Maybe your business is 100% the same in every aspect, but you just outwork them in sales. Then what do you think is going to happen? You're going to do better. You don't really have to worry about the competition that much. You have to worry about what you're willing to do. Again, every idea already exists. And yet, how many businesses can you think of? You know, pause the video, take 10 seconds and think of the last 5 businesses that you have had some sort of dealing with that you were like, man, that was a really good experience. I almost want to buy something again just because it was so nice. It was so pleasant. There's just not that many. I can only think of like 2 maybe that I just really like their stuff that much. Yeah, there's just not many. And so that is a sign that there is so much opportunity, because within that gap of businesses that you can remember, or that void of businesses that you can remember, that means there's your room. Like if you have an amazing tire shop, then maybe don't start a tire shop in the same neighborhood as that one, right? If you work with the best real estate agent that you've ever met, even then, honestly, like I can still think of reasons why you should still do it anyways. It's like, well, that actually is a really good advantage for you to learn from that real estate agent and go to a different place and become another real estate agent, because there is too much business for that one person. Just like for me with SaleTend, it's, why would I compete with such large and well-established competitors? Well, the reality is some people are just going to like my interface better than theirs, or other people are just going to like their interface better than mine. Not everything is about features or about new, like so many people nowadays, they're all hopping on the AI train. I can't stand the majority of the AI, and I've been a software developer for 12 years. I don't even like that much of it. I'll use ChatGPT as a replacement for Google search because it just seems like Google search has become worse and harder to find results in. Honestly, if Google search just kept working, I probably would have just kept using Google search. And all they had to do was just stay the same. They didn't even have to get better, but they chose to dilute their product. ChatGPT is now a suitable replacement, so I've swapped it out. But I don't even particularly like AI, and the reason I bring up AI is everybody's hopping on the AI hype train, and they're trying to like include it in every one of their products, in every aspect, and I don't even want to think about the AI being included in it. And as you've probably seen, there's been actually a lot of blowback because some of these AI companies are training their machine learning models based off of the user data. And now it's come to this it's become quite controversial in that, well, it's my data. Why are you using it to build a thing to then charge me to use the thing when it was my data that made it in the first place? And first of all, that was my data. It's not your intellectual property. Like Adobe is dealing with that. Midjourney is dealing with that. Slack, I believe, was doing the same type of thing. I'll just say allegedly because I don't know if that's going to get me into trouble or anything, but that was the word on the internet, right? That they're doing all these things, and so people were very upset about it. And this is a question to you guys. Please answer in the comments. Have you had a pleasant email that you've received or message that you've received from anybody, any sort of marketing whatsoever, that was AI generated, that you thought was good and you appreciated that they reached out to you with AI instead of, or like a bot email? Have you ever once been happy about that? I've seen a lot of people using AI to try to pretend like they were reaching out sincerely, like a guy, I could tell that it was automated and that it was a bot. He did a Loom recording of my website, but he made sure not to use his profile picture. Like he didn't have the video of him watching my website and reviewing it, but basically he had some sort of AI or LLM wrapper to generate a transcript, read it, convert it to audio, and then pair it with the Loom video. And the Loom video is just like him scrolling up and down my website to imitate or pretend like he was actually reviewing my website to get me to reach back out to him. I thought it was kind of insulting that they think that people just won't notice. And I'm sure plenty of people won't notice, but anybody who does notice is going to be annoyed, and your brand value has just tanked. And so when I see companies like HubSpot or Salesforce or whatever, they just start throwing in AI and machine learning models to, for example, help you write an email to a prospect. I think that sounds like a nice idea, but it's a quick way to long-term tank your brand just doing a bunch of AI reach outs to everybody. Like imagine all you guys are commenting on my video and then I just reply to you using ChatGPT. You'll probably be able to tell, right? Are you gonna like me more or are you gonna like me less? Probably not more, right? It's not really gonna help you feel like you are building a personal connection with my brand or my companies or whatever. You're just gonna feel like, oh, he doesn't actually care enough to do that. Now, what if every now and then I did something, but I was at least honest about it? Like on Instagram, it's a very popular thing right now to connect a ManyChat bot to your account and then have people comment a word. Like maybe you've seen those kinds of posts where they'll say, comment the word guide, and I'll send you my 30-page guide on how to get more customers. Now, at least that, as long as you admit that it's automated, nobody should really be upset about that. But if you pretend or you try to sneak one by that, oh yeah, I'm gonna send it to you, me, that's getting a little bit, I don't think it's smart. And so I don't really want to have features like that included in my products. Could there be a place for it in certain applications, like for you to brainstorm a message or for you to brainstorm a blog post? Yes, sure. Like I use ChatGPT for brainstorming when I need to come up with a video concept or a blog post or an article. If maybe I just need a frame, like an outline for something that I need to write, but I would never just use it flat out like the result. And so I just don't think it makes sense to implicitly encourage the use of these impersonal reach outs or these impersonal follow-ups by making it so easy to do so through your software. Now, at the end of the day, if people want to cut corners and just give out AI generated responses, they're going to do that even if you don't put it inside of your app and you go to a different tab and use ChatGPT to write your emails. Yeah, but that's their choice. I just don't want to encourage things that I know are not going to help people. Because ironically enough, as more and more people do that specifically, and they're gonna do it, as you've probably seen that they are, I'm pretty sure some people on some of my Twitter posts are actually just ChatGPT bots because the responses are just so oddly worded that I just can't trust it. The more people are gonna grow to appreciate the sincerity of a person, an individual actually writing out a response to them. And so, funny, I feel like I could even make that a selling point of SailTend, that we don't use any AI. One feature, no AI, that type of thing. It would be pretty funny to do that. I believe the CEO of Procreate, if you're not familiar with Procreate, it's a very popular drawing and art app that you can use on iPads, and I think it's just iPads, but it's a very good app. It's very high quality. But he has now spoken out that they will not do any sort of generative AI stuff in their application, which a lot of artists who were really annoyed with companies like Adobe or Midjourney, they really appreciated that because it felt like, okay, with Procreate, I don't have to worry about them taking over the rights essentially of my designs. Whereas with Adobe, apparently, just by using Adobe, they now can use my designs in their machine learning, which kind of implies that it's theirs. So there's just so many different ways that you can differentiate yourself. It doesn't have to be through making something better. It could be just different, or it could just be unique, or it could be new. But it's really hard to come up with something new. And frankly, you're always going to have an opportunity to make something better than these companies, because these companies, when they succeed, they get too big, they make things too complicated, or they lose sight of what their initial goal was when they get that big. And then they lose it, and now it's up for grabs again. So just don't worry so much. Don't overthink it. Don't try to come up with a perfect idea, because there is no perfect idea. And frankly, even if by the time you come up with the perfect idea, how long is it going to take you to get that idea? What if it took you an extra year of preparation, mental preparation, and meditating and pondering what's going to be the best idea? You probably could have already started and failed like 2 or 3 businesses in that time, and probably figured at least something out by then, something better, and your perfect idea is probably not even that perfect. So just don't let these people fool you. Don't let all these people who are saying that this doesn't work, that doesn't work, this is too hard, nobody can do this anymore. Don't let them fool you. That's them. That's their mindset, and that's probably true for them. But if you just do something and you don't overthink it, you've already beat them. You're a different person. Their advice does not apply to you. There's just so much opportunity. Literally anything that you want to do, anything, you can start a business around it. You can probably start the exact business that you're thinking of, and you can probably do it. You can make it happen. It's not like, oh, I didn't have the right profit margin and so the business failed. Like, yeah, there are business models that are harder than others, but if you really want to, you can figure out a way to make it work. There are bad business models, and by bad, I mean bad for where you're currently at, but you can rewire them to be a different way, or like a slight pivot, but not a total pivot, where it is something smart again. I'm not sure how many of you might have seen the movie about McDonald's, and supposedly some of the details are not entirely accurate, but there was a very interesting moment in the story where the financing guy or the investing guy, he meets Ray Kroc in the story. And Ray Kroc is thinking, oh, I am in the restaurant business, and so I need to figure out how to make more money and control the franchisees. But then the finance guy, he said, actually, if you switch this to being a real estate focused business, you can still have all the restaurants and you can control the menu of the restaurants and all that, but the way you make money is through the real estate. And so hopefully you see why I'm mentioning that. Basically, if there might be an idea that you have and you think, this is how I'll do it, this is how I'll make money from it, but maybe it would have been too hard if you did it that way. But with a pivot, a slight pivot, it could work much easier. Things could get much smoother. So if there is an idea that you really want to do, why not just go for that idea and figure out the way that you have to spin it to make it work? Like there are so many different ways of operating a business and making money from the non-obvious part of it. And so even in hard businesses, you can make it work. I'm very confident in saying that. And sure, you should probably pick your battles as to like, what are you really most interested in versus what are you best at? Like sometimes those things are not aligned. When you hear the negative talk of this doesn't work or that is too hard, it's not that it means it is too hard and you can't do it. You just have to figure out, first of all, are they right about what they're saying? And even if they are right for them, are they right for me? And once I've figured out what is the reality, do I want to do that? Is it worth the outcome? Like, what would the final outcome of this be? Like, if we were talking about a restaurant, it's not something I'd be interested in because most restaurants fail. They're really hard. And then even once they're working, it's not like they make a ton of money. They seem easy to make because making food seems somewhat simple, but there's many moving pieces. There's a lot of liability. There's so many issues, so much to manage. So would it be the thing that I was interested in? Probably not. Would I encourage anybody to start a restaurant? Probably not. But if it's been your dream to start a restaurant, I'm not going to tell you don't do it. Just figure out the way that you can do it. What is the best way? Do you need to start with a restaurant that is a $10,000 a month lease? Probably not. You probably don't need to go that far. You should first of all figure out, how are you going to actually make the money? Like, where are you going to get the food from? What type of food? How's it going to work? Can you get a $1,000 a month place, like a really small place? Or maybe you could do delivery only to start out. Or maybe you could be a kitchen for a restaurant, and so you don't have to deal with any of the customers. You're just working through the restaurant. Like, there's all these types of things, all these different ways that you can structure it. So anyways, I'm probably running off on tangents now, talking about how to actually make really hard businesses work. But the point that I was starting with was that people will try to tell you that you can't make it work. And so really that's just for them. If you're determined, if you're motivated, you can make it work. If you can just do anything, just do something, you are better than them. And just don't complain about it. You can get tired. Like, I hate it when people talk about burnout. And it's not that I think people don't get tired or that people don't work too hard for like a few weeks and then they've tired themselves out. And so now every day after that just feels way too hard. I understand it, but I just don't think it helps you to talk like that. I just don't think it helps to give a special term to something. It's like self-imposing this trauma on yourself. Oh, I burned out. I burned out before. 6 months ago, I suffered from extreme burnout. Just say you got tired. Oh man, that was a rough few weeks. Yeah, I had to take a week off, but now I'm back to it. There, much simpler, not so dramatic. Let's not over dramatize everything or romanticize everything and make it this big thing. Like, don't make it a big deal. Just, you got tired, you worked too hard, you stayed up too many late nights working on stuff. Okay, and then you get some rest, move on. Make sure you sleep 8 hours a night. That's probably enough. Don't skip that. Because then, yeah, your mind's not going to work right. So frankly, I just want to avoid those types of people. They're not affecting me. Like, obviously listening to them has not changed how I am, but it's just distracting. And then you kind of start to that's the bigger issue that I realize this is probably the bigger issue with listening to them, even if you are not changing yourself because of it. It could make you a little bit too happy with yourself. Like, you might be happy that, oh, well, I never start whining like they do, or I never start acting like they do. And, I have some hard spots and I don't complain as much as they do, so that must mean I'm better. That doesn't help you either, because frankly, your goal is your goal. And so you just have to get to your goal and not pay attention to whatever it is that they're saying. So if they make you feel like you've already sort of made it just because you are able to handle the pressure better than they do, that's bad. You should just have your own anxiety push you forward to keep going, to stay up late and do whatever you need to do, or wake up early. Waking up early is even better, honestly, for me. Like, I tend towards staying up late, but I don't think I've ever been as productive as I am when I wake up early and go to sleep early. It's just kind of hard schedule-wise at the moment. But yeah, I think for me, that is the bigger reason why I just hate hearing all that stuff. Because I think it can affect me in becoming maybe a bit complacent, that if I'm doing better than them, or at least handling hard situations better than them, that must mean I'm doing all right. And I don't want to feel like I'm doing all right. I want to feel like I'm behind so that I can keep trying to do better, because I haven't hit my goals yet. And even once you do hit your goals, it again doesn't help you to feel like you've hit your goals. You should be content every day. So don't think I'm saying you should never be happy with anything. You should already just be happy with the way your life is and how you get to work on things that you want to do, things that you want to work on. If you're unhappy with just your life, that's a totally separate issue. Not really talking about that. I'm talking about just work-wise. You should never get too satisfied and you should never get too down on yourself. Either one is unhelpful. It's good to have a bit of anxiety. It's good to have some of the good days where you're, a little bit excited. So I guess if I were to try and quickly summarize what I've talked about in this video, I guess I would say, don't be overly dramatic. Don't let other people let you think that it's too difficult for you just because it's too difficult for them. You don't have to worry about competition. You don't have to worry about getting the perfect idea. You just have to worry about doing something, and you're already going to be in like the top 10% of people. But don't be satisfied with being in the top 10% of people. You have to keep working towards your goal and not let them affect you too much for good or for bad. Even in those crowds of complainers, you'll see, one or two people doing really well, and even they will every now and then start whining about, oh, I got burnout, oh, I got tired, oh, business is hard. That's why you just can't listen to everybody. You just can't. It's not helping you to be that dramatic about everything. You don't want to get too excited when things are going well, and you don't want to get too down when things are going bad. It doesn't help your mental clarity. Just keep doing it, keep moving forward, keep making the steps that you know you need to do. Don't let them drag you back with them. Your only real limit as to what you can do is time. And even then, that's what leverage is for, right? To get more done faster. So just work really hard and do the things that you want to do. You can probably do that really big goal that you have. Even if you're a bit delusional, being delusional is probably kind of a good thing, actually, in that you can delude yourself into thinking you can do it. And if you believe it well enough, you could probably convince other people that you can do it, and then they'll be interested in helping you with that. But anyways, I think that is long enough for today. I hope some of this was insightful for you, or maybe I'm just a crazy person yelling to myself in my room. Let me know in the comments what you think. But that's all for today. Thank you guys for listening. Bye.